Hey y'all, it's Jen and welcome back to my channel Ifers Inklings. In this video series, I will be discussing the short stories in the Best American Short Stories 2018 edition as edited by Roxane Gay. Now, as a disclaimer, I just want you to know that I am no expert in literature. I really don't know what I'm doing here, but we're going to dive through this anyway and see what we can learn from the text and from just this experience altogether. Also, this is a discussion video, so it will contain spoilers. So if you are interested in any of these stories but don't want spoilers to them, then be sure and click out of this video, go pick up this book, read the story I'm about to talk about, and come back and discuss it with me in this video. Hey guys, it's Jen and welcome back to my channel, Ifers Inklings. It is time for another short story discussion from this collection, and you may have noticed that I have not been doing the young adult short story collection. I'm not feeling it right now, so we'll get back into those here in a little while, but I'm a little bit behind schedule on these short stories, and I want to make sure that I get all of these in this collection done and talked about in this year. Whether I do the young adult ones or not, I'll just try and sprinkle those in here and there as I get to them. So today's short story is going to be Los Angeles by Emma Cline, and it is from Granta. I had a hard time with this one. It is only about 12 pages long, and I usually have a list of themes, and I use the last page to write some notes in. And I do have some notes, but I usually have a lot more themes that I'm able to pick out in this. And really the only thing that I've got here is desperation and apathy or apathetic, because this character is so apathetic during this entire story. So the main character in here is Alice, and I think she's probably mid-20s. We don't ever get her name, her exact age, but she talks about one of her coworkers being 17 and still in high school, and how she wishes she was still young like that, and how all of her friends are in the stage of their life where they are getting married and having kids and things like that. So I get the impression that she is, maybe early to mid-20s. But again, not anything that's specifically mentioned. She just talks about how she's older than everybody else in the story, and the ones that are specifically mentioned age-wise are like teenagers in high school still. I don't even know where to begin with this story. There were lots of things that I highlighted and underlined. Basically, Alice has moved to Los Angeles from somewhere in the Midwest, and she's trying to pursue acting, and she's trying to pursue acting because that's kind of what she thinks that she's supposed to do, because everybody said she was pretty and she should act. And we get that a couple of pages into the story, because from this quote, it says, maybe Una is her 17-year-old coworker. So maybe Una wanted to be an actress for the same reason Alice did, because other people told them that they should be. It was one of the traditional possibilities for a pretty girl, everyone urging the pretty girl not to waste her prettiness, to put it to good use, as if prettiness was a natural resource, a responsibility you had to see it all the way through. My note next to that talks about how a woman is often defined by her looks, and how it is expected that it will impact her career choice, because if you're pretty, everybody talks about you being an actor or an actress or a model, or things like that. But we are introduced to Alice when she is by talking about her job, and she's like, she works at this retail clothing store, and she talks about how it is really the focus of this store is to be sexy. It says they sold cheap, slutty clothes in primary colors, clothes invoking a low-level athleticism, tube socks, track shorts, as if sex was an alternative sport. And then she goes on to describe how the men will come in there, and that the management, that you're basically hired by your looks. If you look good and corporate approves of you, because you have to take a picture, they don't care about your resume, they just want to see a picture of you. and so you're hired by your looks. Um, and that they only have young women working the floor. It says only young women work the floor. The guys stayed in the back room, folding, unpacking, and tagging shipments from the warehouse, managing stock. They had nothing to offer beyond their plain labor. It was the girls that the management wanted out in front, the girls who acted as shorthand to the entire brand. And that's because sex sells. They want the men in there to buy the clothes, and or the women to come in there that want to look young and sexy and like the salespeople on the floor, the sales girls. At one point, we get a story. Alice is telling a story that Una has related to her, where a customer has approached her and has offered to buy her the underwear that she's wearing for $50. You know, he wants her to just go into the dressing room and take those off, and he'll buy them for $50. And Una was like, Alice was like, gross, did you do that? Please tell me you didn't do that. And she was like, yeah, of course I did. It's $50. It's easy. There's a whole thing, go look this up on the internet. There's a whole thing about this. And so, of course, Alice goes home and looks it up. And then the rest of this story is about Alice selling her underwear. When she's looking at the advertisements for seeking used women's underwear, she makes this quote, and I really liked it because it's a good quote. It says, "You pressed slightly on the world, and it showed its odd corners, revealed its dim and helpless desires." If you look hard enough, you can find anything. There's a market for anything. There's a desire for just about anything. But I say that apathy in this comes in because the last couple of pages is about her final meetup of selling her underwear to some guy, and he asked her to get into his van, because that's not a red flag right there. But she's talking about how she's going to tell Una this story later. She's going to talk about, she's going to make him a little bit uglier than he is, and a little bit older than he is, that kind of thing. And she says she and Una were used to telling each other stories like this to dramatize incidents so that everything took on an ironic, comical tone. Their lives, a series of encounters that happened to them but never really affected them, at least in the retelling, their personas unflappable and all-seeing. And then she talks about a sexual encounter she had that was not a good one, that the guy wasn't very well endowed and had a hard time finishing, and so he ended up rolling off of her and worked it out on his own. And she says it had been bearable because it would become a story, something condescending, something condensed and communicable. And I just thought how sad, because they retell these stories that are really kind of awful, and they're making it to where it's something that's not happening to them. They're just going through the motions. They're detaching themselves because it's a horrible experience and demeaning, and I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. But of course, this ends up pretty bad. She tries to get out of the car after he gives her the money, and finds her door locked, and she keeps struggling, and he's like, relax, you're making it worse. Just stop, you're just making it worse. So it doesn't say whether she got out of the car, or that's all left up, or even what happens to her, but she's pretty freaked out at the end of the story, and you get the impression that it doesn't turn out well. But she says this, it says, Alice was certain suddenly that she was trapped, that a great violence was coming to her. Who would feel bad for her? She had done this to herself. And, nobody deserves to be hurt or harmed or raped or murdered or kidnapped or whatever because of choices that they've made, whether those choices are bad or good or not so good, or questionable, or not a choice that you would make. You do what you gotta do to make it, right? But the only real notes I have on this, it says Alice is just going through the motions of life because she has no real excitement for what she's doing, for what she's pursuing. She doesn't have passion for her job, for her career, for acting. She's taking acting classes that her mom's paying for. But, she has it talks earlier in the story about she just has a mattress on the floor. She's not decorated her room or anything. She's been there 3 months. She just has this mattress on the floor. She's got this dead-end job at this retail place where she's really basically just selling her body, or for men to look at her body to sell the clothing. And then she starts selling her used underwear to strange men off the internet. She's taking these acting classes, but there's never any mention of going to auditions or anything. And it's like she's just going through the motions of life because she just has no passion for life or herself or what she's doing. And that's where that apathy comes in. Probably a little bit of depression, and she has no direction in life. She's just doing what she thinks she's supposed to be doing because everybody's told her she's pretty, and maybe she should pursue acting. So I didn't get a lot out of that story. That is about it. There just wasn't a lot for me to pick and choose from. Desperation, I don't know. So this wasn't one of my favorite stories. I love Emma Cline. I have her full-length novel, and I love it. This is the second short story I've read by her, and I'm not feeling either one of them. She had a short story in the 2017 edition of the Best American Short Stories collection, and it just wasn't that great either. So I'm a little disappointed because I really do enjoy her as a novelist. But it just goes to show that, or not every writer can write all forms of writing, literature, literary writing, whatever you want to call it. So that is it for my discussion on this. I know it's not as much as I normally do and talk about, but there just wasn't a lot to me in this to pull out of this. Now, let me know in the comments below if you've read this one and if you got something different out of it, if you picked up on more from this short story, and what you thought of it. Did you pull out the same kind of depression, apathy, despondency in Alice that I did, or did you pick up on something else? What did you think about the theme of everything always being about sex, or what a woman can give to a man? Because I think that's a heavy theme in this, that women are only good for what they can sexually provide. So you guys know what to do here. Be sure and like, subscribe, comment, share, and if you don't have a comment related to this, anything in this video, just leave me an emoji or just say hi. That way I can say hi back to you in the comments as well. Be sure and stay tuned for the next short story discussion in this series. And until then, I'll talk to you later. Bye.